Welcome to the Danger Zone. What's up, everybody? Today I'm your host, Joy Noel, and I am joined by one half of the Movie Bros, Kevin Coelho, and Forbes 30 Under 30, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
I love how Kevin just gives a thumbs up as if this isn't also an audio podcast. Audio kids sitting there like,
the kids got it. The kids got it. I feel like they felt it. I give really good thumbs up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so good
they
that
felt
people
the
can hear it.
energy.
Yeah. The
Perfect.
listeners definitely felt the energy that came out of me.
Perfect. This is the Kind of Funny Screencast, our weekly show where we break down the latest in TVs, movies, and trailers. You can watch it on youtube.com/kindoffunny, roosterteeth.com, or your favorite podcast services by searching for Kind of Funny Screencast. If you want to get the show early, ad-free, watch live along with us when it's not embargoed like this one, you can go to patreon.com and catch it there, just like our Patreon producers, Anonymous, Molecule, and Fargo Brady. Today, we are talking about Top Gun Maverick. We all saw it last night. I haven't been this excited to talk about a movie in a very long time, which is also a wild thing to say because I feel like I said that when we talked about Doctor Strange early. This has been a banger year for movies, y'all.
Banger year.
And we are so lucky.
That's been the conversation that I was having last night after we saw the movie with some folks that like we saw at the theater that were friends of ours, right? And like I was like, dude, I can't believe how good of a year this is for movies. Like it reminds me of, was it 2019? That was also such a banger year.
Yes.
It was like back to back to back, just fucking like amazing ass movies.
Yeah. This is going to give it a run for his money. Kevin, do you have a question?
Yeah, and not question as much as like I just wanted to make a statement. Like I walked into this movie being like, it was overhyped for me. Like I had good friends. The dude that runs the PR company that like hooks us up with all these screeners was like, hey, just a heads up, this might be one of the best movies I've ever seen. And I was like, all right, bro. You know, we don't talk about movies that much. So I was just like, all right, cool. That's interesting. I'm very interested into it. And I walked in legit being like, I think it's been overhyped. I don't know that it can meet up to any expectations. And I don't think there's a good shot for it. And I walked out of that movie with my mind fucking blown.
Oh my gosh. Well, we will get to all of our feelings about Top Gun in just a second. The good news is if you want more Top Gun content, this is the month for you on youtube.com/kindoffunny. The week of May 23rd, Tim, Nick, Andy, Snowbike Mike, and then Matt Batson, who's a friend of the show, will be doing two Kind of Funny interviews. They'll be doing the original Top Gun on Tuesday the 24th and then Top Gun Maverick on Friday the 27th. Because I know all of y'all are here being like, a Top Gun screencast? Where's Nick? So don't worry, it's coming. We want to get a lot of different opinions on Top Gun. Today we're brought to you by MeUndies and Credit Karma, but we will get to that later. Way later. Let's jump into it. I want to start with Blessing on what you thought about Top Gun Maverick. This is all gonna be spoiler free.
Spoiler free. Okay.
Yeah, like.
So for me, going into it, I was excited to check out this movie from seeing the trailers purely for Tom Cruise. Like Tom Cruise is somebody who I love from Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible is one of my favorite action movie franchises, if not maybe my favorite action movie franchise, if I'm not counting Marvel stuff. And so seeing the trailers, seeing how cool it looks, seeing the shots, seeing the production, right? Seeing like a 2022 Top Gun was the thing that excited me. For me, as somebody who wasn't necessarily already a big Top Gun fan, actually yesterday, right before seeing the movie, I went back and I rewatched Top Gun because I don't think I had seen Top Gun since I was probably a child watching it on cable TV when it would pop up all the time. But like
TBS classic.
Yeah, like
2 o'clock, middle of a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those movies where like you scroll through on like DirecTV, look through the TV guide, and there was always like one of the channels that had Top Gun, and then after Top Gun was Top Gun again for some reason, and they would continue to just play Top Gun on loop to the point where I was like, oh, this must be a TV show. This certainly can't be a movie. And I look and it's like, oh no, this is an hour and a half. But that being the case, I still like. It's been so long since I had even like seen or even thought about Top Gun that I couldn't tell you the A to B to C of the plot. And rewatching it yesterday, I realized why. It's because barely anything happens in that movie. Like there's like 2 to 3 things of consequence, and the whole rest of the movie is just like, hey, it's us. We're hanging out at Top Gun. We're flying shit. You know, like we're having a good time. We're dudes being dudes. We're bros being bros. And watching it yesterday, the original Top Gun, by the time I got toward the end, I was like, oh, I'm a bit bored. Like after watching this movie, I'm actually looking forward to Top Gun Maverick less. And I think it's a combination of two things. I think it was a combination of it being an 80s movie and it being like having the pacing and the style of an 80s movie, which, after being just inundated with so many modern action movies, the pacing is just different. And so I think I'm less um there's a lesser chance of me just being into it, like in from a pacing standpoint, by those standards. And then also I think it being aviation, it being like, again, dudes being dudes, I don't think that's a thing that naturally appeals to me in a movie. So I went out, I came out of Top Gun being like, all right, let's see how this goes. And when I tell you that by the time I got to the halfway point of Top Gun Maverick, I was way more invested than I ever thought I could be. Like the cast, the characters, they all play their roles super well. I think each character's story and presence in the movie is done perfectly, right? Like the side characters aren't doing too much, but they aren't doing too little, right? Like I think
Yeah.
the group of kids that they have rocking in this movie are so good, and the dynamic that they play off against each other I think is so good. The shots in terms of like the cinematography and the aviation stuff, the action, I think is all done so well. It feels like how a Top Gun movie should be like in 2022, right? Like when you're comparing it up against the other big action movies that we get nowadays, like the maneuvers and like seeing like the stuff that we see in the trailers, right? Of like the jets like stalling and like like finding the ways behind other jets to like gain an advantage, all that stuff works and it hits and it's contextualized in a way in a movie that makes it really easily understood by the viewer, even if you're not into aviation shit. Like by the time I got towards the end of the movie, I was like, dude, I want to play an aviation game. Like I want to like actually get into this, because the way they explain it, the way they set up like a very simple yet intense mission in the movie, and the way they kind of like go about explaining the tactics of the mission, explaining why they're doing what they're doing, explaining why they're going about training the way they're training. It's so interesting and so well done for something that a mission that is so simple. Like they take that simple idea and really drive it home in a way that the more and more you sit with it, the more and more tense it gets. And toward the end of Act 2, I found myself one time being like, all right, like I can feel this wrapping up, like I can feel this getting long. And then the entirety of Act 3, I was like, I don't want this to end. This can go forever. Like it was so tense, it was so well done, it was so well scripted, and I am blown away by how much I love this movie. I think Top Gun Maverick is, I guess we can give our kind of funny scores, right? For me, it's a 5 out of 5. It is amazing. I would even go I would even go as far as to say it's a masterpiece of a movie. I think it was incredible.
Kevin, give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I am utterly blown away. I haven't rewatched Top Gun since I was a little kid, and like it was one of my dad's favorite movies, so I'm sure it was on in the background, but like I didn't pay it much attention. So on Monday, I was like, Paul, let's watch this movie so we can go to the screener. And by the end of it, she's like, I don't think I'm gonna go to the screener. I've got a lot of work stuff to handle. I can take care of the dog and stuff. It'll be just better if you go. And I was like, all right, I get it. I love in Top Gun 1, like the dog fights. I mean, the dynamics are super cool, and like that's what the movie is. But also, I loved like the dog fights and stuff. I know the limitations of the time make them so that you got to use your imagination a lot. But like, so I was really excited and interested where they were gonna go with the story, and I think that this movie is perfectly cast, impeccably timed, and super well edited. It's like we've now seen these, sequels that are take place 20 or 30 years later after the original a bunch of times. But like this movie is made of different stuff. Like Blessing said, there were a couple moments where I was like, all right, we could start wrapping things up, but by the time you get to the third act, it is non-stop in the best way. And then
it starts nonstop. Like, there's not a lot of room to breathe in this movie, I will
absolutely say. But like, and it like fits the tone of the movie, and it fits the whole flow of the movie, and it's just like this movie is something special, and like I understand why they held it for 2 years. So like, if you get your chance, go and watch it. Easy 5 out of 5. I agree. Whatever the highest honor a 5 out of 5 movie gets, like masterpiece, that's what this is. Like, and I can't believe that. I can't believe that when Mike told me, my friend Mike, who runs this place, was like, hey, one of the best movies I've ever seen. I was like, I don't know. Top Gun Maverick, okay. But then walking out, I was like, I need to watch this movie again. Like,
Yep.
I am for sure gonna watch it in 4DX because that's an experience you need. And then
I need to see it in
potentially,
IMAX though.
I mean, I honestly I want to see it in Dolby because that
Yeah.
we saw it in IMAX. That was an IMAX theater. It was just
Oh,
not.
was it really?
Yeah, it's
interesting.
just in the Bay Area. There's one real IMAX theater, and everything else is just what we call Limax. All right, so just remember that the Metreon is where you want to go. Yeah, like I would not be shocked if I watched this movie 3 times in theaters, and that is, I think, wildly rare for me.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't. The last time I did that was maybe like Endgame, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and that's because I hated it so much. You know?
Yeah, like usually for me, like if I'm gonna go watch a movie again in the theater, usually like it was No Way Home that I did that last, where it was like 3 times, and then I think before that probably Endgame, and then before that Black Panther. Like it has to be some nerdy like Marvel shit because it's just me at that point. It's just me being a kid and just having a party. But yeah, Top Gun, I'm like, dude, I kind of want to see it again in theater, like either in Dolby or maybe even in 4D, even though I don't like 4D that much. But like for this movie, I might make the exception
This
because like
movie's gonna be insane in 4DX.
yeah, this movie seems like if I'm gonna see one movie in 4D, it might be this one.
Yeah. I agree. I love the original Top Gun. I also rewatched it before we saw it today or yesterday. And it is one of those things where I'm like, ooh, this is a slower paced movie. It is really front loaded with a lot of the stuff that I love, and like pretty much everything in the original Top Gun, like after Goose dies, I realized that like maybe I just don't watch the movie after that because I didn't remember a ton of it. So I just only kind of watch it for the fun stuff at the beginning. So it did kind of adjust my expectations where I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a lot more of like a technical movie than I remember it, other than like the bar scenes and like the banter and the volleyball scenes and stuff like that. I was like, oh, there's a lot more structure around it than I remembered. So going into it, I had seen all of the CinemaCon reactions where it got a standing ovation, which is like kind of unheard of, and seeing initial reactions from the premiere and stuff last week. And I'm like, and talking to our friend Mike, it's like, there's no way that this movie is as good as everyone's saying it is. And man, it truly is. And like, I don't want to necessarily try like overhype this for people. I think it works as a Top Gun sequel. It works as an action movie on its own. It's just a really, really solid movie. It's shot really beautifully. The sound
Yeah.
design for it is really incredible with like the way that they use different mechanics when they're kind of going through stuff.
Yeah, like the engines turning on for us watching it in Limax, like it felt incredible.
Yeah. The casting, we just have to talk about for a second. Like, I feel like this is undeniably a Maverick movie. This is 100%, this is Tom Cruise's story. We are committed to that. But the way that they use the supporting cast, I think the new crew of characters is truly incredible. They do a good job of making each one of them feel a little bit different from each other, so they have their own identity, but without focusing on them like too much, where it's like, get us back to the people that we care about. And I had a really fun time with them. Even some of the new characters that we get that I don't know if they show in the trailer, I think have the possibility to be like, ugh, are they really just going to try and add this in? And I think it works out really well. I never felt like anything was really shoehorned in on this. Tom Cruise is incredible. Like, I just cannot say enough good things about this movie.
Yeah, I was so surprised by how much they nailed it in terms of the cast. Like there are characters that early on I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this guy. I'm absolutely gonna hate this guy. And then by the time you get to the end, I'm like, I fucking love this guy. This guy's the best. Like I want to see more of this guy.
Yeah.
And the ways in which they pair off certain characters, or like the dynamics between a lot of the different characters, I think are very fascinating because they do the thing where like there are certain characters with rivals, right? There are certain characters that are obviously homies with other characters, or they're partnered with other characters, and like they play that in a very interesting way where like it's so tough to talk about it without spoiling anything. I'm not going to spoil anything, but like you get to a part where like somebody's like picking somebody, and it's like, oh man, but what about this other guy? And then like, hey, don't worry, everything kind of comes together in terms of how they think about making sure every character has their moment, and I think it's done so well. Like by the time I finished, I was like, man, I love this cast so much. Like I almost want to see, like I don't want to see another Top Gun because I think this is such a good like okay, you did it. You made the follow up to Top Gun. You don't need to keep doing this. But if they did make another Top Gun, I would want to see it with this cast because I think this cast is so good.
I
Yeah, that's
agree.
like I
Before we
also
get to Kevin, let's hear from our sponsors.
Shout out to MeUndies for sponsoring this episode. You know those days when your coffee shop is out of cold brew and your air conditioner breaks, you try to go to the beach but there's 0 parking spots? Yeah, life can be hard. Good thing MeUndies is here to help you take a break from the hardships of the world and give yourself a soft summer. Of course, I don't need to tell you. I got the MeUndies shirt, I got the MeUndies lounge pants, I'm wearing the MeUndies undies, the socks, even my face mask is MeUndies. I absolutely love MeUndies and their soft micro-modal fabric, and you're gonna love it too. I absolutely guarantee it. With MeUndies light and breathable micro-modal fabric, you can stay comfy and cool all summer long. They have super fun seasonal prints and tons of styles to choose from in sizes extra small all the way up to 4XL. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you. Any first-time purchasers, you can get 15% off. If you sign up for the free to join membership, you can apply that 15% off to their already discounted membership prices. To get 15% off your first order and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MEUNDIES.com/kindafunny. Shout out to Credit Karma for sponsoring this episode. Have you ever been rejected for a credit card? It happens way too often. That's why Credit Karma created Karma Confidence technology, helping members apply with more confidence. Are you earning credit card rewards? Credit Karma can help you compare your rewards options so you can find a card that fits your lifestyle, helping you earn miles or cash back for spending money that you're gonna spend anyways. Of course, I'm a huge fan of that. I love Credit Karma. One of my favorite features is how Credit Karma uses your credit data to show you your chances of approval before you even apply, which helps you apply with more confidence, and then it doesn't affect your credit score. Credit Karma uses your credit profile to show you offers that are tailored to your financial situation. They also partner with a wide range of card issuers so you can be sure that you're exploring all sorts of options. I love Credit Karma. It's so easy to use. Fantastic stuff. Credit Karma, create your own karma. Ready to find the card for you? Head to Credit Karma and check out your personalized mix of offers today. Go to creditkarma.com or the Credit Karma app to find the card for you. That's creditkarma.com.
Almost forgot about that.
No, you nailed it. I was gonna say I'm in an interesting spot where, like, I could see them making a sequel to this that won't get these highs, but like they've done such a good job setting up this world that like I'm okay with a lesser sequel. You know what I mean? Like I kind of behind the idea of like I could do with a little bit more of this world. I don't need it 100%, but like if it comes, I don't think I'd be mad. I think I'd be excited to see more of.
I think I just want to see more aviation is the thing.
Yeah,
Like, which is the thing I never thought I'd say. I never thought I'd say it because like when we talk about action movies, right? Like usually the action is people punching each other or shooting each other or like getting into face-offs or whatever. Like I think the way they treat the aviation in this movie is so well done. And I mentioned that like watching the original Top Gun yesterday before watching the movie, I got to a point where I was like, oh, this is kind of boring. And I don't want that to make it seem like this one is like all action all the time at like a brisk, fast pace, like John Wick or some shit like that. It's not that. It's
but
still
with planes.
but with planes, right? It's not that, right? I think it still does have the heart and spirit of like actual genuine or authentic like aviation. Like they're going about like there's like the way they talk about it, the way they kind of abide by like certain tactics and like the way they name certain maneuvers and all these things, right? It feels like they are the reason why them doing the cool shit is cool is because like they introduce the shit you're supposed to do, and then you see Maverick do like a crazy maneuver, and it's like, oh snap, like that dude just like did something that these other guys didn't know about, like, and those are the moments that I felt like really shined in the action that I was not expecting for somebody who doesn't look for aviation stuff, and now I am like, man, I would take another film, like even if it's not Top Gun, if I'll take another aviation film, right? Like I want to see more action done this way because it is such a refreshing way to do it, as opposed to just like again like the John Wick, like kill somebody or shoot somebody or like all that.
I think they do a really good job in this movie too, not getting like too lost in the weeds in the aviation stuff. Cause I feel like that's the
Yeah.
part where I start to tune out in the original Top Gun, where it's like, oh, you're talking like very technically about all this stuff, which I understand why, because this is Top Gun and that's what these classes look like. But I feel like with this one, they focus in and really hone in on like one main thing that that they're working on, and they just kind of really make that the focus and
Yeah, it's
kind of
almost like watching a
refine it a little
documentary.
bit.
Like, you
Yeah.
know, like
Mm.
those documentaries where it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
these guys are trying to make this one thing happen, and the whole documentary is
It
about
feels
how they got that.
heisty.
It does feel
Mhm.
heisty, yeah, and I think that's what makes it work as well, is that it feels like a heist movie, and like it works perfectly for what this movie is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first movie was so much about like, hey, look, these characters are doing this basically a competition, and they want to figure out who number one is, and this isn't that, you know. And I think that that makes it more palatable and more enjoyable, and we're rooting for kind of all of them at the same time, you know. We're rooting for the team, right?
Mhm.
I Another thing I think this movie does really well is like the aerial action and combat and all that stuff is great. It's thrilling, like legit thrilling. But on top of that, this movie has a heart, and
Oh yeah.
they understand emotions. Like this movie is all over the place in the best way. Like there's a romance that is like that happens that like I'm into by the end of it. There's like the like a relationship that is like people are working stuff out, and it's like I'm fully invested. And again, by the end of it, there's highs, lows, and like highs and lows again in between, and it's just like it's wild, and I'm just very satisfied at the end of
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah, and they do it all. They do it all in a way that makes sense too. Like
Yeah.
it's not shoehorned romance, right? Like when the romance happens, it's like, oh yeah, I get it. Oh man, this is cute, right? And then like there are other options where I think they could have shoehorned romance. Like, it's not-
1,000%.
100%.
It's
and
not
I'm
the
happy
thing
they
where
didn't.
like, oh yeah, here's a woman character, she has to romance somebody, right? Like they don't
Mhm.
necessarily do that, which I think is a great thing, right? And like not everybody has to interact with each other in every sort of way. Like they make it they save those moments for when it works, and I think it makes the movie shine way more. I also do want to give a shout out to, like, speaking to cast, right? Like I think John Hamm killed it.
John
I
Hamm.
I think he
He's-
played his character so well. And then of course Tom Cruise. Like Tom Cruise is a legendary actor to me at this point. Like I don't know how
I
he
mean,
is this good.
absolutely. He's
Yeah, like
so good.
he performs his character so well. He looks young, like he looks
He
great.
looks great
Yeah,
in
he
this
looks
movie.
fantastic, and like he really sells like a lot of the stuff they're doing in terms of the stunts and like the aviation stuff. Like the even the way he breathes, like the way like you'll see a mask press against his face, like it feels like he's giving his all throughout the movie.
That man
And
gives 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's fantastic in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the casting is stellar, and like the couple of the cameos that we get to are really well done, super like tasteful, and like have their moments where they hit hard and they're really cool. I you know, Miles Teller is really good. Like he might not be a great person from everything I feel like we've heard about him, but like
Yeah.
damn, he's a good actor. Like
And they do a good job. Like him with the mustache looks so much like Anthony Edwards that it's like kind
Yeah.
of off-putting almost. And like he personifies what like at least I totally buy as like the son of Goose.
Shout out to Glenn Powell too as well in this movie. Like
Glenn
he
Powell's
has
so good.
he has a smile that is so punchable in a way that's meant to be. Like it's meant to be in this movie, but also like it turns from, again, it like he delivers that punchable smile in such a good way that, again, like it turns you on him, where you're like, am I supposed to like this guy? And then by the end you're like, fuck man, I might like this guy. Like all
It's
the characters.
punchable and charming at the same time.
Yes, and he plays the role so well. Like I think, again, the cast is so good in this movie.
it's uh, all the call names that they have are I think are just also like somebody
Oh,
spent
yeah.
too much time putting together those call names, because all of them are cool. And Top Gun 1, I think also like what was it, there was the two guys that were like the leader, the teacher, and like the superior of the teacher. They come out once.
Yeah.
It was Jester and Viper, and like
Which are
those
so cool.
so cool. Yet I think this movie does an incredible job bringing up new call names, one of which is hilarious. I like it comes out of nowhere, and you're just like, all right, that's what they're committing to, and I loved it. But yeah, like the fact that this guy that we're talking about is named Hangman, So
Yeah.
good.
And the way they explain it too is
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, his character
Yep.
is that character. Like, I
100%.
absolutely love it. Shout out to the score as well. Like, if you're coming into this movie and like you know what you want from a Top Gun Maverick score, they deliver. Like anything
Yeah.
you're asking for is there, and I think they like the throwback stuff, the like new songs they introduce. I think are great. In the ways that they use some of the original music for the movie in like certain scenes, I think is so well done because the movie knows where it's coming from and it knows it has to harken back to the original Top Gun, but it never feels like it's too connected. It never feels like it's a oh yeah, it never feels like Star Wars Episode 7 where it's like here's retreading of A
Yeah.
New Hope,
Yeah.
right? Like it
And there is
feels
times where you think that it's gonna go that way, and they
yes.
do a really good job of managing that.
Yeah, there are only a few times where it's like, all right, we know the
Yeah.
things that we need to do, and we're gonna do that for Top Gun Maverick because this is what people come to expect from the Top Gun franchise. Like they do those things, but I think for the most part, they pick and choose when they're gonna do that, and this movie feels so new and fresh compared to the original one. And I think they absolutely nail it in that.
One thing I want to ask you guys is, do you guys think that you need to watch the first one?
I had this exact conversation last night with somebody.
Yeah?
um, I I I think you could watch it and have an enjoyable experience on its own. I
Mhm.
think you're gonna miss out on a lot of the touches that make it feel magical and make me love it the way that I love it if you don't watch the original. I think you could even get away with like putting it on in the background and like
Yeah.
half
Yep.
paying
See,
attention.
that's
Like
what I did.
yeah, I think as long as you understand like the relational aspect of it and less the like technical flying stuff, I think that's the part that makes this movie
I
Yeah.
special.
I also feel like that relationship stuff gets explained really quick, and then like it
Like
reaches
you could watch
its
the first half of the movie and then bail.
well, no, but then like,
Oh.
but like having it on, I mean, yes, but also like having it on, like you'll know when the next big, I mean, it's when you know, Goose dies, like it's
Yeah.
the next big moment. It's like as long as you know what that connection is and you feel that moment of like, man, that sucked for him, I think you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing it just to get the feeling of like Maverick's connection to Goose because I think it's like very necessary to understand how important that was to him because that I think influences so many of the actions of like people in Top Gun Maverick. And for me, I think it greatly improved my enjoyment of it. Like even though I was bored through the first movie, if I didn't have that first movie experience, like I would have still liked Top Gun Maverick, but I don't think it would have hit as hard. I think it is worth watching the original Top Gun before you watch Top Gun Maverick.
And then another thing, like it's just I just want to for a moment for all the people that have seen it here, like how wild is it that the first I don't know what 10 minutes are as intense as they are, and
Oh my
then
God.
walking out of the theater, I had totally forgotten it until our friend brought it up.
Dude, I'm somebody who I don't enjoy applauding in movie theaters. I'm like the actors can't
I'm
hear
right
you.
there with you. Yeah.
Like,
What's the point? What's the point?
What are we applauding
Yeah.
for? Like who? Like nobody's up there. And there was a moment in the movie where I was passionately clapping my hands, applauding. Like I was so enthralled. And right now, I couldn't tell you what that moment was.
Yeah, 'cause
there
there's
was
so many.
There's so many good moments in the movie that I can't remember the one that made me literally like visibly like applaud out loud. That's how good the movie is. And yeah, the first 10 minutes are so like it starts off with on such a strong note and like it constantly like kind of revisits that of like, oh yeah, this is who Maverick is. And now like throughout the movie, you're gonna get Maverick like making decisions and doing all these things that are influenced by like, oh no, we understand who he is because look at the guy from the first 10 minutes and like how that influences like the rest of it. It's so good. It's so good.
I
Ugh.
can't believe it. I legit can't believe walking out being like, wow.
Yeah.
I for sure want to watch this in 40X. I for sure want to watch it in Dolby. Like that is upsetting to me, honestly. But whatever, we'll handle it. Yeah.
I feel like I haven't felt this way about getting out of a movie and wanting to see it immediately again and being so angry that I can't. Like the last time I felt this way about a movie was Thor.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok, where it was like I could watch this immediately again right now and be totally fine with my life. So across the board, 5 stars, highest possible
Highest
recommendation.
honors, yeah.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It sucks that like I hate saying that because I feel like inevitably people are gonna go there and be like, I thought we were gonna see the birth of Christ or something, and it's just like, hey man, go in there and just try to enjoy the ride, because God, it's a ride.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Until then, we'll see you next time.